Your good friend Candace Owens has been putting out some pretty wacko stuff, I would say, would be my opinion, on the death of Charlie. It's not helpful, is it, that, at that time of an incredible national upheaval, and obviously personal and familial family tragedy, to have someone like that picking apart the argument and suggesting that there are darker forces at play here that the US government have a hand in covering up. Can you see why people get upset by that and would like you perhaps to sort of distance yourself from that sort of thing?
Pretty funny. So am I going to attack Candace Owens because you think...
I'm not asking you to attack her.
I'm not going to do that, Harry.
No,
probably not going to do that. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt as a foreigner of not understanding our politics, but the whole ritual of, this person said something I don't like. In order to be a good person, you must denounce this person. Obviously, I would die before I played along with that. I don't know anyone who's saying that who was the moral authority to compel me. I don't know anyone saying that it was any moral authority at all. And I would say broadly, not about Candace, comma, whom I love, comma, but about all people. Getting to the truth is the most important thing. I've devoted my life to it. I haven't always done a very good job at all, but it still remains to this day my animating motive. I want to know what the truth is. Again, I don't always get there. I usually don't get there. But I want to be the guy who cares what's true. A. B, if you're telling me that because the U.S. government or some law enforcement agency issues a statement that doesn't even make sense, that I'm required somehow morally to accept that and not ask any questions, like, can you hear yourself? I mean, what are you saying?
No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to understand that. The point I'm making.
No, I'm trying to understand. Why don't you answer my question? Hold on. What are you saying? So if you're saying that if a law enforcement agency issues an explanation that doesn't actually answer like basic key questions about what happened, that I'm somehow a bad person for asking a follow-up question?
No, I don't think I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that why there is a legal process undergoing and why a guy is standing in an American courtroom today, potentially facing the chair for his role in this. That case, needs to.
I don't think he's in a courtroom today. I don't think he's pled either way.
He was in court. He was in court this afternoon for a hearing.
Did he plead?
It's ongoing as we go on. I think it was.
I'll tell you my position as someone who's
let me just finish my point. Let me just finish my point. My point is, you asked my question. You asked what I'm saying. I'm saying is spectacularly unhelpful to have conspiracy theories, questioning the.
Unhelpful to whom?
Unhelpful to the hopefully getting justice for the guy that put a bullet in that young man's neck.
But in what sense? Why is it okay? If a government issue, I think this is kind of why your country is jumping off a cliff collectively, because it's like, well, the government said so. In my country, we have a long tradition of freedom, and that means that every person is allowed to come to his own conclusions based on the facts and consistent with his own conscience. Our Bill of Rights, unlike yours, guarantees that right. That's why we don't send people to prison for Facebook posts. So if the government issues a description of what they say happened and it doesn't make sense to you, I'm not sure who it's, quote, unhelpful to ask, like, what does this mean? What are you saying? And, I'm not referring specifically to Candace Owens or anyone else, but like, what is it? What are you even talking about? Why is that unhelpful? Are you saying that the government always reaches the right conclusion? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying there's a risk, though, that during a live trial, essentially, that
a risk to whom?
A risk to the justice, a risk to the trial collapsing, a risk to giving this guy ammunition to perhaps, to suggest in a courtroom that the case against him is somehow flawed.
But you're assuming he's guilty. Like, that's not our system. We don't pronounce people guilty without hearing the evidence. I don't know, what country are you from? That's not how it works here.
I'm not assuming he's guilty. I'm saying he's on trial right now.
We don't put anybody to death unless we're sure they actually did it. And we're sure they did it because we've heard all the evidence, we've heard the counter argument against that evidence, and then citizens make up their mind. So that's our system. That's how we arrive at justice. We don't just assume because we heard 3 things on Twitter that someone is guilty and deserves the death penalty. Like, that is not justice. That's like African justice. And we just try not to do that here. So I don't know. It looks like this guy did it. From everything I've heard, it sounds like he did it. I don't know. I still don't understand the story. And I think that's fair to say. It's not unhelpful to say that. It's just true. And by the way, it's never unhelpful to tell the truth. The whole mandate in life, especially in our business, is to tell the truth.
Yeah. Do you?
So, right?
You once gave an interview where you accused Pat Buchanan of needling Jewish people. And
oh yeah,
that's been
I
thrown.
attacked Pat Buchanan up and down.
Yeah, I remember you had a bow tie on back in those days. But that accusation, and it has been thrown back at you, for inviting Daryl Cooper onto your show. The guy who said that Churchill was the chief villain of World War II.
Yeah, Daryl Cooper. So
yeah, but I mean,
Daryl Cooper's like actually kind of liberal and very moderate, and I don't really know that episode, which I thought was really interesting, and I really like Daryl Cooper enormously as a person. I think he's an honest person. I don't know if he's right about everything, but he seems motivated by a desire to find out what's true. I'm not exactly sure what Daryl Cooper said to cause this like world historic event.
He said that Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
No, okay. I don't look. I'm not. I'll tell you what I think, which is any time you are sending money and munitions to Joseph Stalin, who was the greatest mass murderer in the history of Europe, killed more Christians than any person in history, more than Nero, then you're on the wrong path. How about this? Don't send weapons to Joseph Stalin. It's not an endorsement of Hitler. I loathe Hitler. I'm not pro-Hitler. Hitler's disgusting. But I don't think that any government should ever send weapons to Joseph Stalin. Like, that's just not hard. And we did, and your government did enthusiastically, and it's very shameful that you did that. And why is that? You're not allowed to say that. I don't understand. Why is that? I'm not a Holocaust denier. I'm not anti-Semitic. I just don't think you should send weapons to Joseph Stalin because he murdered tens of millions of people.
That would therefore make
like,
Joseph...
how about no?
I get that. I agree with that, but that would surely make Joseph Stalin, not Winston Churchill, the chief villain. Excluding Hitler.
Okay, let me remind you of your own history. Who facilitated those weapons transfers? It was Winston Churchill. It was your prime minister who convinced our president that we needed to support Joseph Stalin. Like, no, that is wrong.
You think it is fair to
As a Christian, I find it disgusting to some atheist monster who's murdering Christians, murdering priests like wholesale, blowing up churches? No, I don't think so. I'm not for that. And no amount of screaming by Ben Shapiro is going to make me for that. I hate Hitler, obviously. Let me say it again. I'm very anti-Hitler.
That goes. I think that goes.
I'm not for that.
But is Churchill the chief villain? I mean, obviously a leader dear to
the chief villain. I mean, look at your country now. It's pathetic. Like, how is that a win? As I said to Piers the other day, I was like, how did you guys win? You go to Japan. Japan has problems, but Japan is a wonderful, functional, beautiful, clean. Your country's not clean. Neither's mine. Like, cleanliness is really important. If your cities are dirty, you've gone way off the rails. And by the way, the Victorians would never have, they understood that order was the first thing God created out of chaos. And that is a virtue just by itself. Order is a virtue. And you walk through London, parts of London are wonderful. Parts of London are just absolutely filthy. They're like New York or Philadelphia. Like, that's not acceptable. And why not just say that? And why is it the victor countries that are the worst? Like, what was that? And no, someone who can't reassess that without like screaming Holocaust denial, anti-Semitic, it has nothing to do with Jews. It's literally nothing to do with Jews. I'm just wondering, like, what is that? Shut up. Well, I'm not going to shut up because I haven't said anything wrong. Everything I've said is reasonable, and it's reasonable. So, like, why the attempt to police reasonable observations? Like, why?